Okay, Shimuno. I'm sorry I'm so late. Ariella, tomorrow I'm not coming, Wednesday. Okay, usually I think I'll come Wednesday. Tomorrow I can't come. Okay, I have to tell you, very important. You'll get somebody else, but tomorrow I'm not coming. But Thursday I'll be here, Mitzvah. Okay, we're on page 163. Page Kidalf. Okay? This is just a little bit, a bishinke, from the Fabrengen of Yud Beis Tammuz Tavshin Chof. We have a custom that we've been doing now, I think, for 10 years, where we learn the Sichas of the Rebbe from 60 years before, intermittently. In other words, we don't learn all of them, it's impossible. We learn whatever we want. Shtickle from da, shtickle, we choose. We pick and choose whatever it is that we like, and that's what we do. Now this year, for obvious reasons, has been rather poor, primarily because of quarantine. We've been out of commission. I've done a lot of stuff online for Beis Medrash Noshim, but it's all been my morim. I said I'm not in the classroom, I'll do what I wish. But now that we're back, we're doing Sichas. This is the very end of the Fabrengen of Yud Beis Tammuz Tavshin Chof. Now, Rabbi say, B'chedesh Tammuz hu tekef hachayim. The Gemara says that the month of Tammuz represents the maximum heat, the maximum fire. Now, physically, it means it's the hottest month of the year, right? What would Tammuz be? Tammuz would be the second half of July and August. I mean, this year it's, what are we holding? Today is the last days of June, yeah? So it's the second half of June and July. I guess that's what it is, Tammuz. Now, of course, when the Rebbe says that Tammuz is physically the hottest month of the year. However, of course, everything that you have physically, you also have spiritually. And according to Chassidus, the concept of heat and longer days means poshet more kedusha, more oilaki, more holiness, more divine light. That's the pshat, right? So when you say that the month of Tammuz is hotter than other months, when you say in the month of Tammuz the days are longer than another month, this represents maximum Gili Elokus. As you know, that according to Chassidus, the difference between the winter and the summer is that in the summer there's more daylight hours, which represents Milmaila Lamata, Isarusa Diliela. That means that Hashem in this time of year is giving us and inspiring us and raising us up, and we're responding to Him, like it says in the Pasuk. Hashem reaches out to us and we respond to Him. And in the winter it's not like that. The days are shorter and the nights are longer, and it's of course cooler. And this represents a time of tshuva. It's dark, and we have to sort of seek HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, on our own. That's the concept of this time of year, of that time of year. And it's represented by Anil Deidi V'Deidi. But the month of Tammuz is hot and bright. So the Rebbe says, there's an animal that's called a chamayr, a donkey. We don't know what a chamayr is, a donkey. And of course, the shadish of the word chamayr is chumrius, right? Or the shadish of the word chumrius is chamayr. In other words, the concept of a chamayr is that his mahus, his animal representation or his substance is very crude. Over the years, I've always looked for good translations for chumrius. And one of the women many years ago told me, we were still in the other room, that we could translate the word chumrius as crudeness. So a donkey represents a certain denseness, right? The pasuk says, "Yada sheir keinehu v'chameir evos b'yolav." A sheir, an ox, it's a kosher animal, knows his balabais, knows his owner. V'chameir evos, the donkey has no idea who he belongs to. He just knows where he eats his food from, and the source of that food is too sophisticated for him to know. So a chameir represents a denseness. So you find a very interesting Gemara. Lashon is Chamra, a donkey, afilu betkufas Tammuz, even during the season of Tammuz, Kirira Lei is called. Chamra betkufas Tammuz, Kirira Lei, a chameir, a donkey, even in the season of Tammuz is called. Now, I don't want to give you long speeches, but I will give you a short speech. A tkufa is 3 months. It's technically 91 days and 7.5 hours. 91 and 7.5 hours times 4 is 365 and 6 hours. That's a year. So the 4 seasons are Tkufas Nisan, Tkufas Tammuz, Tkufas Tishrei, and Tkufas Tevis. Those are the 4 seasons. So the Chazal say about Tkufas Tammuz. The next 3 months, Tammuz of and Elul, represent heat. And a donkey, even in Tkufas Tammuz, is cold. Now, of course, physically this means, and again, I've never studied the physiology of donkeys, so I don't know, that a donkey is always cold. In the hottest time of the year, he's cold, physically, physiologically. But spiritually, it means that a person who's dense, like a chamayr, you put him in the brightest light, and in the hottest day, and he's cold. And there's stories of tzaddikim, I wish I could remember them. There's stories of tzaddikim who were cold in the summertime, and one of the apikurim would say to him, Chamra afilu b'tkufas tammuz kridele, you're a big tzaddik, it's so hot outside, how come you're cold? And there's a ma'aseh with the Chasam Sefer, and I'm almost sure, but I don't remember it, so I can't tell it to you. But I know this means to say, Shagam b'tkufas tammuz, even when you have the season of Tammuz, Shiash and Yenachoy, you have the union of heat. And of course, the source of this heat is mitzat shemesh havaya, the light, the fire, the sun, which is havaya shemir b'tokvei, that's shining with all of its power. So shemesh havaya obviously is a very good thing. Goes on alakus. And the donkey, the chamoir, hine mitzat chemir aguf chamer, because of the crudeness of his body, harayodayim b'matzav shol krirus, he is cold. Shayim. So the Rebbe says that there is a symbolism, and there is a Torah, there is an inyan, and there is a biur, and there's an avodah in everything. So the seasons have an avodah, right? They teach us something, and they represent something, and they inspire something. What about the donkey? What about the donkey? The idea that in the summertime the physical heat is a right, that there's a greater shemesh and magan avaya lekim, greater light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. By the way, let me tell you something, parenthetically, that there's a minhag to say in Kol Shabbos Sakayetz Pirkei Avos. All summer, from the first Shabbos after Pesach until Shabbos Nevarchim Tishrei, we say every single Shabbos, we say Pirkei Avos. And of course, there's 2 ideas that are brought in Sfarim why we say Pirkei Avos. And the Rebbe brings this in the Sicha, which is why I know it. The Rebbe says that the Bartanura, the Rav, Rabbi Bartanura, and he probably brings it from the Rishonim, he himself was a Nachman. Rabbi Bartanura says that the reason we say Pirkei Avos in the summertime is because in the summer it's hotter, and because it's hotter, there's more problems with sneeze, and b'chalal people get looser, and it brings to prikasol, it brings to people being frivolous and irresponsible and less earnest. So you have to have Pirkei Avos, because Pirkei Avos teaches derech eretz, how to be a mensch, and of course it says in Sfarim, derech eretz kodma latera. Before you can be a frum Jew, you have to have a menschach, derech eretz. And the Rav holds, the Bartanura holds, that the inyan of Pirkei Avos is musar umidas, derech eretz. Pashat an mensch. When do you need an extra jolt, an extra inspiration, extra push? Well, derech eretz dafka in the summertime because it's extra hot, etc., etc., etc. This is what the Rav says. So according to the Rav, Abadi Bartanura, we learn Pirkei Avos in the summer because the Yetzer Hara is strong. But then there's the Rambam, and he says that Pirkei Avos is called Milsa de Chassidus. Chassidus is higher than Torah, right? Derech eretz is Kodma la Torah, and Chassidus is Acharei Torah, higher than being higher and beyond being a frum Erel Chayid is being a Chassidish Yid, Chassid. And the Gemara says, "Hayman de boy lemeheve Chassida yishtoy b'milad avos." If you want to be a Chassid, learn and learn from, or let Pirkei Avos teach you. Learn Pirkei Avos. So this Rambam reason is consistent with the Rebbe. And the Rebbe says that the summer represents greater light and greater warmth, which means a greater presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's a time for Chassidus. So according to the Rambam, in the summer it's time to become a bigger Chassid. And according to the Bartanura, the summer you have to be worried about being a Ben Adam, a mensch. But the Rebbe says, Omnam Gam Teva HaKarida Shalachamed, even the nature of Kobus of the donkey, Tzrichim Lenatzel, Ba'abedes Hashem, can be and must be utilized in the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In other words, that the sun represents something good, theoretically I get. But the donkey, the donkey is a metaphor for such denseness, for lack of words, such grubkeit, that it's hot in the world and he's cold. Nothing moves it. Right? Mitzvahs anoshim melumoda alt is kaltum terukim. Everything is cold and dry. There's no chayes. Says the Rebbe, but you can learn something from the donkey as well. What is that? The inyan of kridos has a place. We live in the world. We have to live in the world. We have to partake of the world. We have to be a part of the world, and that means involvement in gashmis. But it doesn't say you have to be passionate about it. You got to do it. But the koch has to be in ruchnias and kedusha. I had a conversation with a very Chassidus Yid, with a mashpia, who was talking about how we deal with the excesses of American life. America is a civilization that does everything on a big and everything on a showy level. That's just the nature of America. Everything is very big. Americans are very blessed. Americans are very blessed. They really are very blessed. And they're not necessarily blessed because they're so smart. Americans are blessed, in my opinion, because they're so good. Americans are good people. Good, really good. That's my opinion. Anyway, maybe I was brainwashed, but this is how I was raised. Americans are good people, but they're very magushim. Medina Shal Chesed, but the Rebbe said something else. In the Sicha of Mishpatim Tavshin and Beis, the Rebbe said every time he mentioned America, he didn't say Malchus Shal Chesed. In the Mugadik Sicha, he wrote Malchus Shal Chesed. In the Fabrengen, the Rebbe said Chassidei Yumes Haylam. The Rebbe said about Americans, Chassidei Umeis Ha'olam. It's in the what the Rebbe said. When he edited it, he changed it to Malchus Shal Chesed. Anyway, but we live in America, and America is a land of cars and houses and vacations and food, and everything is in excess. So, you live in this society. What do? Should you make a chasana with herring and crackers and say, who cares about America? So the mashpiyim say, what other children have, your children have to have. In other words, you can't discriminate. You can't make your children feel like they're not normal, not like everybody else. This normal, this like everybody else is so materialistic. It's so, even if you do it in a minimal way, it's excessive. But this is what I've been told by people who are older and wiser than myself. We can clear about how to deal with these things. But if your children live in an environment where everybody lives a certain way and your child doesn't have, it's very difficult. We're not talking about Dvarim Asurim, we're just talking about Dvarim Gashmi. But the Rebbe says the koch doesn't have to be. You can learn from a Chamei that even though you live in this society, and therefore you have to, not chas v'sholom, become a part of it, but you have to live in it. You can't make believe you're living in Siberia. But the kridos of a Chamei is a good tool to teach children and to have a good balance, a good perspective on all of this. Ha'emesi, the truth of the matter is, when it comes to matters of holiness, we need to have heat and passion. Say a person that because of his nature and his personality, when it comes to matters of kedusha, he's deficient in passion. So at least the fact, the truth is you're supposed to be passionate about Avodas Hashem. And of course, if you're passionate about Avodas Hashem be'emes, you're automatically dispassionate about Gashmis. It says in Sifrei Musar, it's brought in Chassidus, that it's brought from the Archet Tzadikim, and it's also brought many times in the name of the Chavis Halavavas. That just like fire and water cannot be together, a passion for Yonim of Yiddishkeit and a passion for Yonim of Gashmis cannot be in the same place. Can't be. So if a person is passionate about Avodas Hashem naturally, things which are not Avodas Hashem, he's going to be cold about. Says Rebbe, but learn from the Chamei that if you cannot be passionate about Yiddishkeit, at least don't be passionate about Goyishkeit. When it comes to worldly things, it should be a call. Turn the page. How can a person affect in himself that when it comes to Gashmis, he does it cold? I told you yesterday one of the sweetest stories. I heard this from Rabbi Paltiel, that he was in Gan Yisroel. This goes back 60 years. Beryl Mochkin was playing with the boys, a game. And he sees that he's throwing the ball with his left hand. And it was very obvious that he wasn't a lefty. So he says, Beryl, why are you throwing the ball with the left hand? So Beryl Mochkin said, I didn't daven yet. So in his mind, he had to do something to indicate this is very important, but it's not that important. There's more important things. Keitzad Pe'elim Kerinos Zu. How can a person influence, at least when it comes to Gashmi, there should be a certain kind of a coldness? Says the Rabbi, as a kosher mitzvah tzitzis shabasiyah b'pash. This is Pashat Shlach. This Fabringen you bestam is Pashat Shlach. Says the Rabbi, it's connected to this is Shabbos Mavorchem. I told you bestam the Shabbos Mavorchem season to Pashat Shlach, which ends with the mitzvah of tzitzis, and the mitzvah of tzitzis teaches this exercise. Yes, ne piska me Baal Shem Tov ben tzitzis. The Baal Shem Tov says about tzitzis. Quote, when you put on the talis, yiras atchelis. Allow yourself to see the blue. Pirush shatipol of yira. And seeing the blue will bring upon you a fear. Now, of course, the concept is that the Hebrew word tchelis is the same as the word kiloyon, expiration. There's another Hebrew word which also connotes a similar thing, ishtitzi gushma, that it squeezes the gashmiyas. So the Hebrew word for blue, purple, whatever color that dye is, which is tchelis, shows on the eating from bittel. So the Baal Shem Tov says that when you put on your tzitzis, you should visualize, you should see the blue, and it should affect in you yira. It says in the Chazal that the Mutlash Yam, tchelis deimel Yam, the color tchelis is like the sea, Yam deimel rakia, the Yam is like the rakia, and the rakia is deimel the kisi hakavod. And the rakia is compared to the kisi hakavod. In other words, the color blue represents something mystical and spiritual, and the Rebbe says that the Baal Shem Tov says that it represents the Indian of Yira. The Einay movement says the Rebbe, let's ask common sense questions. We all know, Klal Godel Omru Be people, that common sense is most uncommon. But how do you look at the blue? Madua maybe Baal Shem Tov this Indian Atachelis. Why would the Baal Shem Tov say when you put on the talis, you should envisage the Indian of Tchelis? It's Einay Motzev as matters. We don't have it. We don't even use it. This, of course, is compounded by what it says in Kabbalah, and explaining the reasons. That it's not the pshat. We don't use tchelis because we don't have it. It's the pshat we don't use tchelis because we're not on the madrega of being affected by it. Right? When I was a child growing up, and I learned about the tchelis, I learned about the chilazim, the malamdim would teach us, our teachers would tell us that Yidden left Eretz Yisrael. And because they left that Yisrael, they stopped fishing for this fish. It's a snail, from what I understand, called the chilazin, which is at the bottom of the sea near northern Yisrael, Haifa, Golul, whatever the case is. And then they forgot what it is. That's what my mom told. In other words, we don't have tchelis, we don't know what it is. Historically, many Yidden have tried to rediscover the tchelis. Now there's a movement of people who are putting on tchelis, and I don't think that Rebbe would approve of it. And not so long ago, over 100 years ago, maybe 150 years ago by now, the Radzine Rebbes, to a big tzaddikim, and I believe the Mishpacha Nomen theirs was Leiner, said that they rediscovered the tchelis and they started using it. And they wrote Sfarim. The Radzine Rebbe was a big Talmud Chacham, wrote a sefer, 2 Sfarim or 3 Sfarim on tchelis. He sent a copy of it to the Rebbe Rashab and asked the Rebbe Rashab to join in this initiative to put tchelis. I have friends who have cousins who are Radzine Chasidim. So they keep their tzitzis tucked into their pants. They don't keep the tzitzis out. And if you ask him to show you, you see the tchelis. It's a navy blue. It's a very dark blue. And it comes from a chilazin, from a snail, which is not hard to find. It lives, like I said, in the Mediterranean Sea, and so on. So the way I understand it is, this what I was taught as a child, that we don't use tchelis, because we don't know what fish is the chilazin. I don't think that's exactly true. I think we know exactly what the chilazin is. That he's all right, we don't use tchelis because we're not in the madrega of using tchelis. So the Radzine Rebbe wrote to the Rebbe Rashab that he found the tchelis and he wants the Rebbe Rashab to use it. So the Rebbe Rashab said to him that in Kisvei Arizal it's written that we don't use tchelis not because we don't know what it is, because we're not holding by Bizman Hazeh. So the Radzine wrote back to the Rebbe Rashab, Ei Bazeh, we shouldn't wear tefillin shal rosh either, because Kabbalistically the madrega of tefillin shal rosh is the same as the madrega of tchelis. So if you don't do tchelis because you're not on that madrega, we shouldn't wear tefillin shal rosh either. So the Rebbe Rashab answers him that when it comes to Kabbalah, you can't make comparisons. You can't be medam milk. When it comes to Kabbalah, you can't compare one thing to another because you don't fully, even though it's the same sfira, chokhmah, whatever it is, we don't fully understand the inyanim, and therefore you can't make correlations. This is what the Rebbe Rashab said to the Radzine Rebbe. Now, what is tchelis? Api Kabbalah. So I'll use these oasis, yeah. if the tzitzis, the white of the tzitzis, compared to the beged, the talus of the tzitzis, is like mamalik kalama compared to sevev kalama. It's a ha'ara, the ha'ara, it's shaylis. The tchelis is like mamalik kalama or ha'ara, the ha'ara, or shaylis when compared to the lavas. In other words, in Kabbalah you have when one thing comes from the other where they're similar. That's called the ha'ara. Then you have one thing comes from another where they're dissimilar, they're very far apart. It's called the ha'ara, the ha'ara. The tzitzis, the kon of psil, is the ha'ara of the talus. Just like the tzitzis is 2 steps away from the beged, the tchelis is 2 steps away from the white strings. Now, when the white strings are mamalik kalama, are limited light, so tchelis is even more and more limited. So the Al Pi Kabbalah, we're not holding by doing. The avoid of tchelis is too precise, it's too dark. It's serving Hashem with such a bittul in a Kabbalah sale in darkness, which we're not ready for, and that's why we don't use the tchelis. So why would the Baal Shem Tov say, look at the tchelis of your tzitzis, and you'll have Yiras Hashem? V'abir b'da the teretz is she'oyse inyan shayinimshach pam. Adat tchelis, because what used to happen in the olden days through tchelis, that it was mo'eder yira, nimshach gamayim, it happens today as well. El shenimshach ayidei chutim love, we do it through the white strings of the tzitzis. V'ara inyan at tchelis, the concept of tchelis, k'may mirazal, like it's written in the Gemara tchelis, de yam de melirakia. The kiyah dem l'kisi Yaakov, exactly what I told you before. The blue is like the sea is like the sky is the kisi Yaakov. When you contemplate cheles, you don't only think of the blue of the thread and of the sea and of the sky of the kisi Yaakov, but he who sits on the chair, which is the Eibishter, and other people of yira. V'neitava yira, the nature of fear is shapayelas kivas. It affects in a person a sense of being constrained. It takes away the expansiveness and the delight, and the passion. When a person is suppressed, he's not in a mood to enjoy materialism. So the Rebbe is saying, you think of the tzitzis are me'eder yira, and Gashmis is push. It's not the pshat you don't want it. You're not in the mood of it. It says in Chassidus that the lower fear is a vessel for the higher fear, because they're both in Yinabitl. This fear makes a person cold to Gashmis, which is Yireh Tato. Yavi Seif Kol Seif Gamas HaYislavet BeKedusha, brings passion in Kedusha, which is Yireh Lo. We'll move it. I'm finishing quickly because I don't want to make the rabbi wait. Sheheder HaYislavet B'Nam Gashmis, the lack of passion in Gashmis, Einim Einei does not prevent Hashpos HaGashmis, the pale that Hashem shouldn't give us Gashmis. The Rebbe is saying we need Gashmis. We must have Gashmis. But Koch and Dafmanish. Everything Hashem gives us comes also begashmis. The lake of Mani is bikuv and the shows us in Chassidus that when a bracha comes from the Eibush into the physical world, in health and in parnas and so on, it is the ultimate gili alakus. That Hashem, how do you see Hashem revealed in the physical world? That the physical world is better. Which is all discussed in Parashat Tzitzis, in the after part of Parashat Kedach. This is another thing. In next week's Parshas Kedach, which is for us last week, it talks about Koyanim, and by Koyanim there's a cloud. Everything is bizidisis. You know what that means? You mess with a Koyan, you're punished right away. A Koyan gives the bracha, it's nimshach right away. A Koyan is given a job, he does it right away. Okay, I'll see you Mitzvah Hashem on Thursday.